The torture and burning of Servetus. Early in the trial, which lasted 2 months, Calvin wrote to Farel, "I hope that sentence of death will be passed upon him." Obviously, if the God one believes in predestines billions to a burning hell, all of whom he could rescue, then to burn at the stake a totally depraved heretic would seem quite mild and easily justifiable. That logic, however, seems somehow to escape many of today's evangelical Christians who admire the man and call themselves Calvinists. The indictment, drawn up by Calvin the lawyer, contained 38 charges supported by quotations from Servetus's writings. Calvin personally appeared in court as the accuser and as chief witness for the prosecution. Calvin's personal reports of the trial matched Servetus's railings with such epithets as, "The dirty dog wiped his snout," "The perfidious scamp soils each page with impious ravings," etc. Geneva's council consulted the other churches of Protestant Switzerland, and 6 weeks later their reply was received. Servetus should be condemned but not executed. Nevertheless, under Calvin's leadership, he was sentenced to death on 2 counts of heresy: Unitarianism, rejection of the Trinity, and rejection of infant baptism. Durant gives the horrifying details. He asked to be beheaded rather than burned. Calvin was inclined to support this plea, but the aged Farel reproved him for such tolerance, and the council voted that Servetus should be burned alive. The sentence was carried out the next morning, October 17, 1553. On the way to the burning, Farel importuned Servetus to earn divine mercy by confessing the crime of heresy. According to Farel, the condemned man replied, "I am not guilty, I have not merited death," and he besought God to pardon his accusers. He was fastened to a stake by iron chains, and his last book was bound to his side. When the flames reached his face, he shrieked with agony. After half an hour of burning, he died. Calvin accused Servetus of specious arguments against infant baptism, but the latter's main objections, in spite of his other faults, were actually quite sound. Calvin's derisive response, purged of that unchristian, biting and mocking tone of ridicule that would never leave him, is condensed as follows. Servetus argues that no man becomes our brother unless by the spirit of adoption, only conferred by the hearing of faith. Who will presume that God may not engraft infants into Christ by some other secret method? Again, he objects that infants cannot be begotten by the Word. But what I have said again and again, I now repeat. God takes his own methods of regenerating to consecrate infants to himself and initiate them by a sacred symbol. Circumcision was common to infants before they received understanding. Doubtless, the design of Satan in assaulting pedobaptism with all his force is to efface that attestation of divine grace, that from their birth they have been acknowledged by him as his children. In spite of his other false views, Servetus was correct in his objections to infant baptism, and was therefore, in that respect, burned at the stake for a biblical belief that opposed Calvin's heresy of baptismal regeneration of infants, practiced in many Calvinist churches to this day.